All right, guys. Thank you so much for attending. This is Win with Buyers. This is step 2, prepare for the buyer consultation. We are joined today with Lisa Teichner, team leader for KW Maui. And we're also joined by Attilio and Adrian, which we're very lucky because they helped us get the first portion started. So thank you guys so much.
It was a tiny bit. Cynical.
And Alicia and everyone else. If you don't mind muting yourselves while we do this, thank you so much. I'd be greatly appreciated. And please, if any questions you have, any ahas, any takeaways, throw them in the chat. Anything that we can help you with to kind of better fine tune or customize some of the materials, please do so in the chat. And Attilio and Adrian, go ahead and take it away. Or not.
Yes, and we are here. And now I'm not on mute, and now you can hear me. All right, step 2, prepare for the buyer consultation. But before we go somewhere, you gotta know where we came from. And what did we talk about last week was leads to appointments. And I just kind of want to do a recap because maybe people were like, dang, I was catching up on my Walking Dead Netflix episodes last week, so I missed your last training. Can you recap it before we get going? Sure can. All right, so we talked about lead appointments, and real quick, Chad, Lisa, Adrian, I want you guys to share with us your best practices, and if anybody's got best practices, Chad, maybe you can help me monitor the chat. Because
I think with the leads to appointments, we talked a lot about just connecting, asking open-ended questions.
Yep.
Those were kind of the big takeaways.
So, and you know, Adrian and I's teaching style, along with Lisa's and Chad's, is that this is not a monologue, this is a dialogue. Monologue means you're gonna hear me, and after about 6 minutes, because this is like your 10th Zoom for today, I am gonna start sounding like Charlie from Peanuts teacher. Wah, 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 wah. So we're going to have engagement. We're going to engage with all our co-instructors here. And then you guys are going to share best practices. Chad, is Keller Williams about coming from contribution? And is
Absolutely.
it just leadership to the people, or is the people need to share too?
It is a two-way street.
Two-way street, win-win. Okay. So real quick on the recap from last year, not last year, last week. Was it last
week? It does
week?
feel
No,
like last year.
Week.
Jeez.
It felt like last year because I've had 59 Zooms between that class and today's class. So lead appointments fell into 4 categories. We had capture. Chad, for capturing leads, what would be your best practice?
Well, there's a couple of different things. Number one is properly a proper CRM, a good CRM to capture them into. So okay. Like you had brought up before, is any CRM, I mean, we use Command, but any CRM that you use is going to be the right one. Just use it. Use it. Yeah. The best CRM is the one you use. Mm-hmm. And then, so lead capture. Adrian, what would you say would be for a brand new agent? What would be their brand new agent or agent? You know,
answer your phone. Say hello.
Answer your phone.
Make sure your voicemail is set up and not full.
Yeah. Yeah.
Answer
you
your
know
phone,
how you
know
lose
what
money
to
in
say.
this business? I'm sorry. The subscriber you're reaching has not set up their voicemail. Thank you. Click. Like not even setting up your voicemail. I've called agents and gotten that. I'm like, what? So anyway, those are the best lead captures, but paying attention on Facebook to people, you know, downsizing, right sizing, kids coming in, kids going, whatever, moving, you know, pay attention to that. So those are lead capturing. And then we have connecting. We've got connecting. We got Lisa coming in, speaking of connecting. What are some best practices for connecting? Maybe Lisa, what do you find is the best way for you to connect with someone?
Ha 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 ha. Hello.
Hi, Lisa.
Oh, the other Lisa.
Oh, sorry. I got to go Lisa T versus Lisa. Wow, you guys are both Crosby Torres.
I know. So you're talking about connecting with a potential buyer after you lead capture?
Yes.
So calling them. So depending on what your lead capture process was, if it was from your CRM or something that went in from an online lead, you're obviously going to call them or follow up until you actually make contact with them, to speak to them in person. and then touches to stay in
Yeah.
communication with them.
Well, I wanna unpack that a little bit. I've saved up all these like interviewer type statements, and I'm using them now and peppering through our class. Could you unpack that a little bit more and tell me, like, specifically when you get them on the phone, how do you connect with them once they're on the phone with you?
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Excellent. Okay.
What kind of questions?
Oh, Adrian's like a dog on a bone on this
Not
one.
yes or no questions, no open-ended questions.
Open-ended
Yes.
questions. And should we go like Lisa Maui, Lisa Honolulu? Lisa Honolulu, we get them on the phone, they're not ready to go, and we gotta cultivate them. And we kind of touched on it already. What would be your best practices for cultivating Lomi the lead? How would you do that?
Oh, so I just jumped on because I was reviewing a contract. So at this point, you're telling me we just got them from a lead?
We got them from a lead, we got them on the phone, but they're just not quite ready to go. So what would be your cultivation practices for staying in touch or whatever?
Definitely they go in my CRM on a touch
Okay.
campaign,
Okay.
and I'm going to following up with them, but I'm going to also be asking them, leading them towards next steps. So even if they're not ready, I still want to get a buyer consultation with them because I want to get them in my corner. So I don't know if I'm leading into the conversation you're in right now, but I always lead to that. I said, it doesn't matter if it's 3 months, 6 months, or 2 years from now. We always start with a consultation to make sure you have a plan in place. So when the time is right, you're best prepared to make the best decisions. So when would be a good time for us to get together?
If you guys pay attention, there was a nice nugget. There were nice nuggets from Chad, from Lisa Maui, Lisa Honolulu, all of them. But the most recent nugget that I just got from Lisa Honolulu is that and here's the script that I use specifically for what Lisa Honolulu just described. It's never too soon to get educated about the home buying process. I'll say that one more time. It's never too soon to get educated regarding the home buying process. What I also add on to that, there may be things that you need to do, and I want to give you as much time to prepare for that so that when you do find that home you like, we're not like scrambling, like the mayor and the governor trying to figure out how to deal with the pandemic and it gets all messed up, okay? Anyway, so let's get to it. We're going to be talking about the next steps. So we talked about leads to appointment. Now we're going to be talking about preparing for the buyer consultation. Oops, I went a little bit too quick. Boom, there we go. Preparing. So the first part, and if you guys had a piece of paper and you wanted to supposedly break it down into different sections of which you're going to be taking notes on the things we're going to cover, I'm just going to hit you with the syllabus. Is it, I always wondered, is it syllabus or syllabi?
Syllabi.
It's syllabi. Okay. There's your 50-cent word for today. I just use all 50 cents of my board budget, all with one word, syllabi. So if you had a syllabi for this course, this is how it would look like. The first section would be know your buyer, and then we're going to break that down into demographics and categories. The next major section is going to be appointment systems. And appointment systems is going to be broken down into 3 things. What is your unique value proposition? What is, how do you customize your buyer guide? And then what is your appointment management system? And then the last part that we're going to cover before we wrap it up is going to be preparing your presentation. So there is your syllabi for today's class. Okay, let's get started. And we're going to talk about, demographics.
Demographics and categories.
Yep, so demographics. Adrian, what are the demographic categories in our instructor guide and/or / workbook?
So does everyone have their workbook? Or
And if you don't, we'll
are
just
you
start
guys
with-
aware of the workbook?
It would
Making
be
sure that
page
you guys
22. It would be page 22 of your workbook if you had one. No, I'm sorry, page 57. Page 57. Okay. And Adrian, what are the buyer demographics?
So that would be like in the age ranges, right?
Yep.
That were, hold on, I'm pulling it through.
So age 20 to 40s.
20 to
They're
40.
leaving the nest and buying a first home or condo. And we'll
And
be
then, yep, and then 40s to 60s, maybe second home, investment home, moving up to a larger home, and then 60 and up, they are downsizing.
So let's go with Chad again. I'm just gonna go. You guys are stacked in a column, so I'm just gonna go Chad, Adrian, Chad, Adrian. You know Lisa, you guys are like a band from the 80s. Lisa. Anyway, Chad, why is it important that we understand or know what the demographics are in preparing for this consultation and not just go in there blind, not knowing this?
That's a great question. I think that knowing the demographic, but also asking the right questions on the initial phone call and during the buyer consultation. And to your point, I think that you gave last time too, asking questions like what they do for a living it's all about them. They're the hero of the story. And in this case, you're getting to know them better so that you can direct to their goals and priorities. It could be a specific area, it could be a price point, it could be certain ancillary things that they're going to need in their property. Maybe it's somebody that wants to have a pool or access to a pool or whatever the case might be. Having that information helps you direct and meet their goals and priorities.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the riddle. What walks on 4 legs? What walks on 2 legs? And then what walks on 3 legs? Anybody know that riddle?
Mm-hmm.
That is the demographic riddle that you're going to remember for this point. I'm creating a memory hook. And once I explain it to you, there's going to be brain matter everywhere because your minds are just going to be like, so what walks on 4 legs is a baby when you're crawling. What walks on 2 legs is an adult when you're walking on 2 legs and you learn how to walk. And what walks on 3 legs is when you get old and you need a cane. Okay, so that's the riddle. What walks on 4 legs, what walks on 2 legs, what walks on 3 legs. It's kind of an indication or a visual of the demographics that you're talking about. So, and you need to adjust your conversation and your questions to that. Okay, next one is buyer categories. And let's go through these real quick. Adrian, what's the first category?
So you got your first time home buyers.
And what will be your number 1 tip for first-time home buyers? And then,
Yeah,
Lisa,
they're just really they're gonna need to have a lot of hand holding, and you're really gonna have to be going in depth. And sometimes, like as an agent, like you're doing this, every day, and you forget that this is not something that they've experienced. So you really need to slow down and make sure that they understand. Yep.
For all of you that are in the class, this come from contribution. I want you, please put in the chat. What are your best practices when working with first-time home buyers? And now we're going to Lisa Maui. Lisa Maui, when you have somebody that's a current homeowner, what would be your number 1? Oh, wait, no, wait. If her camera is off, I wasn't supposed to ask her questions. Never mind. Lisa Honolulu, they're a current homeowner.
Well, so again, we always come from a lot of open-ended questions. What do they plan to do with the existing house? You want to talk about how they're going to get from house A to house B if they need to be contingent. And that's a whole other conversation. Are they realistic? Giving them options, educating them. And I think no matter what category they're in, you never want to speak down to somebody.
Yes.
So you really want to ask them a lot of questions and understand when you talk about demographics. I always start with a client by looking them up on social media.
Excellent.
Google, everywhere else. I want to find out where they work, if they know somebody I know, or and Chad's going to laugh at this, they know somebody I know. So I'm looking for those contacts. And I'll even reach out to people as long as there's not a confidentiality issue. If they were referred by somebody too, I'll ask them to share information. But I really want to understand if they're linear thinkers, if they're creative thinkers. I want to understand what their expectations are as far as selling this house and buying this house and help them through that process. So we can dovetail it and make it as comfortable for them as possible, but also set them up to win. Because there's certain markets you're just not going to be able to go into offers contingent.
All right. Thank you for Lisa Honolulu. Now we're going back to Adrian. Adrian, what if they're relocating?
So I think this has to do with the big companies that offer the relocation benefits. So just being aware that they may have additional paperwork so that they can get reimbursed for any of those costs that are associated with the purchase of the home. So that's a relocation type client.
Yeah, understanding what the relocation benefits are. Read the packet.
Can I add something to that too?
Yeah, go ahead, Chad.
military PCS, I would consider that relocating as well, and understanding the nuance with the VA loan and so forth. Also, there are many, not all, but many VA that are first-time home buyers. And so one of the things, whether it's a corporate relocation, whether it's a military relocation, one thing that I always try to do is get them to understand our current market, that whether they're first-time home buyers, whether they're coming from a different area, what they know in another market is not necessarily applicable in this market. So I kind of give them a little bit of a understanding as to what the sales price or list price ratios are here. If it's a hot market, that they might be writing 7 or 8 offers before they become successful. Like, these are the things that you're going to want to discuss with them so you can set the proper expectation.
What,
Yeah.
and here's a question for you all. When someone's relocating to Hawaii, what is the #1 cause of them screaming and throwing temper tantrums when they first come across taking a look at our properties and completely freaking out? What is that thing that freaks them out coming from the mainland?
The price points.
Our price points. They're like, what? I'm paying $800,000 for this piece of beep in Manoa. Do you know what I could buy for this in the mainland? And then you're like, hello, this is not the mainland. And so we got to get you guys used to here. But go ahead, Adrian.
The other thing is that different states, if they have had experience in purchasing in other states, there's a lot of different ways that the contract is done, where, like, for example, in Texas, I know you put down your deposit and it's gone, you
It's
know,
an
and
option,
then here,
yeah.
so they may have been familiar with purchasing in other areas where it's a completely different type of experience. Maybe it's not as buyer friendly in the state that they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important too, because I've had people, if you miss that buyers or that discussion or understand the demographic of where they're coming from and what the category that they fall, inserting that in your buyer consultation is important, because in their mind, they might be like, hey, I want to write it with 3% buyer credit. And you might not even have heard that if you've only been an agent here, but that's a normal thing in the mainland. That's completely out of the norm here. And that's absolutely a way not to get your offer accepted, is to do something that's kind of out of the norm or against what the grain of the market is.
Excellent. All right. And I'll take this one on investors. Here's the #1 question that I have for you if you're working with investors. By the way, I #1, I ask them, are you working with other agents? Because investors are infamous. That's called being famous, but not in a good way. They're infamous for like having 10 agents out there like hound dogs looking for the best property, and whoever brings me the best deal is who I'll work with. So tell them, with my recommendation, tell them, sorry, Tilio, don't play that. You got to work with me. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. The second question that I asked them, what's more important to you, equity or income? Equity or income, or is it both? Because that's going to tell them that you know what you're doing when you're working with investors. Okay. And I don't want to go too deep on these because we got a bunch of categories. New construction. Lisa Honolulu, what do we need to know about new construction with buyers?
Yeah, wait. You know what?
Adrian or Chad, help them out.
Yeah, go with them, because I'm going to do California brain and nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll hop on this one. Make sure that you accompany the buyer. Make sure that they know that they should not be going to any of those the models without you. Otherwise, you're likely to miss out on the commission.
And also too, to piggyback on that, make sure you know what builders or areas even pay what they call courtesy to pay commission in the first place, because not all of them do.
Yeah. Okay.
So make sure you have an understanding of that.
And then Chad, you want to take on luxury?
Can I jump in on one more thing on that, since I
go ahead, Lisa.
About that. One of my favorite conversations on this, and I do my brain, because there's 2 kinds of new construction, right? There's the ones that are being done by builders, large developments, and then there's the one-offs.
Yeah.
But I think people don't understand that just because you have a real estate license, and I see we have a lot of new people on the call, so I want to make sure I talked about this. When we get a real estate license, we don't have a state grant to get paid a commission. There has to be an offer of compensation. And that offer of compensation is going to come in one of a few ways. Most often for us, it comes through the MLS, but it can be from an offer from new construction under certain terms that you have to comply with, like taking your client on the first visit and registering them and having them not visited before with somebody else. And so you don't just automatically get paid. And if you represent a for sale by owner or represent a buyer in a for sale by owner, you're going to have some other written agreement for what the compensation is and how it's going to be paid. So I've seen a lot of agents get the point, and I did it once in my career, decades ago, where I presented an offer, and then the two clients looked at each other after I did all the work and said, "Now we really don't need her. We don't need to pay her," and I got cut out of the deal.
Oh,
And you only do that.
Terrible.
You only do that once.
cue the music. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And then Chad, luxury.
Yeah, so real quick on luxury is, as you can see in your workbooks, it says that luxury buyers generally purchase homes at 500 or more. Not in Hawaii, which also goes back to the point of knowing your local market.
It's like ghetto
Yeah.
luxury, right? 500,000.
Hey, I'm from the ghetto. I'm from Colombia. That's all day long. No, but understanding where they're wanting to purchase will set the tone for what's considered luxury. We have like pocket markets in Hawaii that are in close proximity to one another, whereas in the mainland it's far more spread out. And that price point varies if you're in Kailua versus Diamond Head versus
Hey, good
Kahala
morning,
and
or
so forth.
good afternoon already.
Oh.
Okay, we are
Okay, go
to get to.
Yeah, I'm so
No,
sorry,
no.
Diane. We're gonna have to mute you. So understanding that market is important. Understanding the buyers too, because they might be foreign buyers. They might be all cash. If they're foreign and bringing cash in, you're gonna want to have an understanding of how that money is coming in, because they may not be able to bring that in at one time. But those little nuances are things that you're gonna want to know.
Yeah. And if you meet them at the airport and then they got this big bulging money wallet around their mid-waist that's taped to their, no, that's the movie Midnight Express. Never mind. Anyway, seniors is another one. And just so you guys know, there's some kind of designation for all of these categories we're talking about. It's up, I'm saying one or the other, we go get them, but not necessarily for the designation to have the alphabet soup behind your name, but to understand how to work with these different niches.
Plus, you can get good CE credits too.
Yeah. For those of you who are scrambling, not that it would be anybody on this class that's scrambling at the last minute to get their CEs done before the end of the year so that they can maintain their licensing. Not that that's anybody on this class. Anyway, seniors. Senior buyers are typically selling their family home and downsizing to a smaller home, townhouse or condo, or purchasing investment properties for their families. So one of the terms that we like to use now is everybody says right sizing and stuff like that. And not that seniors aren't technologically advanced, but be prepared for. We have one client. He's 97 years old, owns multiple properties. We've done multiple transactions. Everything is phone call, personal visit, pen to paper.
And he still drives. That's the scary thing.
We'll give you a heads up when he's on the road in case you want to get out of the way. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, so that we know that you gotta break it down. He's a seasoned, we're talking like 5 to 10 properties here. So it's not like he's new to the market. It's just we're gonna go the other way with technology. Short sales and REOs. Not gonna cover too much on REOs. REOs, you need to develop a relationship with the bank to get those. If there's
We're talking about buyers though. When you're representing a buyer on an REO, there's the contract for bank-owned properties is kind of scary and can be a little intimidating. So if the buyer is looking for these type of properties, you have to prepare them and let them know that a lot of the disclosures and things are going to be different with the bank.
Chad or Lisandro, anything else?
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things. Is if you've never done short sales on the buy side, certainly on the sell side, but this is a buyer's class. On the buy side, work with an agent who has, because it can be super complicated. And there's not, and some people think that short sales is it represents the amount of time. There's nothing short about it. It's not the height requirement. It's not time frame.
Yeah, no. You can't be more than 5 feet tall, right?
You can't, right. You have to be 5'3" to purchase a short sale.
Yeah, it's like, to get on this ride, you got to make this, short sales.
It's because you're shorting the bank. You're shorting the bank what they actually owe. So it's a process. And I'll tell you one tip. If you find what short sales kind of goes in cycles. When the market shifts, you tend to see a lot of them start to pile up again. If I can, and I would love you, because you guys are also short sale experts too. One tip that I would say is, if you see something on the market that says short sale, the very first thing that you should do, if you should even consider that for your buyer or not, is to call the listing agent and say, has that short sale been approved yet?
Yeah.
Because that's going to determine, is that going to be 6 months out or is that going to be 2 months out?
Chad, the other thing to do is to look up that agent and see if they've ever even completed a successful short sale. Because if they haven't, then I would say, I wouldn't be gambling my time with my buyer on that agent. Waiting for them to figure it out. If they don't have help of somebody. Yeah.
I just came up with the, by the way, I'm practicing on all you guys my stand-up routine because I'm using my stuff on you guys. So here would be my stand-up routine to that. Dealing with a first-time agent on a short sale would be just like having a Lyft driver come and pick you up, and it also says student driver on the side. It's going to be a scary experience. Right. But because you're going to be learning with them. So you want to ask them what's their experience with doing short sales. You want to ask them, has it been approved? And you want to ask them if they pulled the title report, because if they're dealing with all the liens. What we find 9 times out of 10, and by the way, any of my other co-instructors, is it a code of ethics violation to do a short sale for the first time by yourself without any prior experience? It is. It is. So go very careful with that. I would tell you, don't violate the code of ethics. And are we fishing for you guys to partner with us? No, because you either hand them off or not, but we can teach you and advise you. So we're not doing that. I'm just saying.
Get educated on it. That would be the, yeah.
Get educated on it. And I would say of any of these categories, if you're doing luxury, REOs, if you're doing it for the first time, find a productivity coach that's got a lot of experience and maybe partner up with them and bring in somebody that's in your corner that can help you navigate this, take care of the client, and look like a true professional. The one other thing I'll tell you about REOs, we talked with Pat Psyche told us this. She's the president of First American Title. And she said that, and we're finding this to be true all the time, and I verified this with Will Tanaka, president of First Hawaii Title, is that 99 times out of 100 or 9 times out of 10 on the REOs, there's going to be some issue with the title, either not following the foreclosure procedure, but so just manage the expectation that something might be screwed up on that. So don't, when you think you're getting ready to close, you may not be ready to close because something got messed up on the title.
So for a first-time home buyer, this type of sale might be a little bit much for them.
Or short sale, REO, yeah.
Yeah. Or someone that's PCSing in because they usually have a small window of time frame to close, and this is not the right property for that. Great for investors though.
Yeah, because they got patience. Patience is the key. International, worldwide. All three of you. What are your suggestions? International, worldwide. I think you kind of talked about it already, Chad.
Verify funds. Just make sure that the funds are like, how are they getting a loan? If so, from where and where are the funds currently located now? Is it in a U.S. bank or a foreign bank? Because that could be an issue.
Yeah, really having these conversations are important because we see a lot of the scams where people think they have inherited money and they're buying a property and they say, oh, they inherited it. You say, what do you mean they inherited it? What was their great uncle's cousin in Kenya or wherever they're, and you're like, and I've actually had about 3 of those escrows where we uncovered that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So, and we used to get those emails all the time. That's why the escrow always has at the bottom, be wary of wire fraud. Commercial, I'm just going to cut to it real quick. Chad, do we have any commercial agents within the market center that I don't know?
Yeah, for Honolulu, we have our infamous Anthony Pace specializes in commercial. It's fantastic.
Right. So I would not touch that with a 550-foot pole unless Tony Pace was holding the pole. Okay? All right, so there's commercial. Let's see here. The next slide is, okay, so here's the question for all of you. Chad, you're in front of a buyer. And here's the question that every single one of you, and you know what? I'm going to challenge every single person on the class. We're not even moving forward unless every single one of you, whether you have something or not, because I'd rather you learn in this moment than when you're in front of the client going, duh, like that, and making that exact same sound. Why should I work with you versus the other buyer agents out there? Why should I work with you versus the other buyer agents out there? Chad, Adrian, Lisa, you guys want to take on that question? What would you say to that answer?
I mean, I have a thing that I say. I basically tell them that, you know, when I sit down and I start explaining what my value proposition is, I'm not a salesperson. I know that sounds really strange, but I come from more of an education, consultative, advocate type of approach. And I usually win people over that way because once I start going over some of the things like what a sales price to list price ratio is and how the days on market are helpful to determine what kind of market we're currently in, a buyer's market or seller's market. When I start going through this, they know that that they're with the right person that's experienced. Now, that might not, if you're brand new, your value proposition might be a little bit different. Your value proposition might be, I'm going to fight for you. I'm brand new to this. I want to prove myself. I'm willing to do anything, you know, whatever that looks like. You got to figure out what that might be for you.
Lisa, go ahead, Adrian. And then
I was
Lisa.
going to say, it would also, I think, depend on the kind of market that you're in, right? With how you position that value proposition. So for a newer agent in this kind of market, you know, buyers are, you know, like stuck in these multiple offer kind of situations. So I think things that would be valuable would be, you know, going in and investigating, turning over every rock, looking for listings that are not on the market, so that your client doesn't have to be competing, and just letting them know that you're willing to do these things that most other agents are not.
Yeah.
You nailed it. That's a big one.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of people in our market center that if there's no listing, because we have a shortage of listings, there's a lack of inventory. So what they're doing is they're creating listings by calling FSBO.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I know Chad's also mentioned that when he's representing buyers in the seller's market, that he will hand deliver the offer to the brokerage that has the listing, and he will break dance in the lobby until they recognize him and receive the offer. I know that for a fact.
It's like, fine, we'll accept it. Please leave already.
Enough with the backspins. Enough with the backspins.
Stop dancing.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, locking. Yeah, and I want a 3% buyer rebate. Lisa Honolulu, how are you coaching our agents here with their value proposition?
Well, first of all, they've got to know their own strengths and weaknesses, but I've always believed in consultative selling, and you ask questions of what are they looking for? You know, what are they looking for in their agent? What are their expectations? And now I can take the 3 or 4 sound bites that I have about how I work and make it relevant. Said, you know, you mentioned that you've been getting beat out when you're going to open houses and making offers. What I specialize in is making sure I find just the right home for you and strategically positioning so you can win in an offer situation. And not only that, if you work with me exclusively, I'll make sure I go find properties off market so you're the only one bidding on those properties. So I've got to make it relevant. I've got to ask them enough questions to understand what their hot buttons are, and then say, this is how I work and this is why it will benefit you. So therefore you'll stop missing out on properties.
Yeah, and come from contribution, folks, guys and gals, please start typing in the chat. What is your unique value proposition? What is your unique value proposition? You know,
I would also say that for the when it's in a reverse market where it's more of a buyer's market, then you definitely want to come up with a different type of value proposition, because buyers are going to have different, I think, expectations or pains when we're in the buyer's market versus a seller's market.
Yeah, so right now you ought to be reading books on negotiation for when the market tips, and you ought to be taking classes on short sales.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, for me, when I first started my unique value proposition, I always told my clients, I guarantee you I'm more funny than the other agents. And we're going to have a good time through this whole process. And they would laugh. And now, again, you guys know me, I'm pretty straight laced. Like, I just keep everything like, no, I am the guy with the sense of humor, and I would use humor. I remember I was doing my Bold 100 and I walked in the park and I was walking up to people and I'm like, I had 20 more to go. And I said, can I meet you? And they're like, huh? I said, can I meet you? I was like, my office is over there and I got to meet people and make contact, talk about real estate. Here's my business card. And I will tell you, of the 20 people that I met, one of them was like, get away from me, weirdo. No, he was like, he didn't even want to take the card. He was just like, well, obviously it was an introvert that was outside in the sunshine. But here are the 10 categories. And if you have your workbook and if you don't, needs analysis. I would imagine that what Lisa was sharing with you, by asking a lot of questions, you're going to determine your needs analysis. Negotiation skills, negotiating the offer. Another one is pre-qualification or pre-approval. You've got a preferred lender that you're partnered up with. Vendor coordination. You're going to need a lot of things to be done on that property. I've got a huge vendor list. Neighborhood information. I know that area like the back of my hand. I will actually move into that area with a pop tent, and I will sleep on that sidewalk and get to know that area, and I'm going to know it for you. Pre-close preparation, home search. People want you to be helpful in that. Closing, understanding how closing work, post-closing, and then writing offers. Chad, Adrian, Lisa, is your ability to write a very competitive offer probably one of the most important skills you got to have right now in this market?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we teach classes on it at our market center. It's really, really important. It's like playing chess. It's a strategy.
Yeah. And it depends on, Adrian mentioned it too, and maybe Chad and Lisa, is that as the market's shifting, you got to adjust your value proposition, okay? To be in sync with what's happening with the market.
Can I say one thing too, is when you mention needs analysis, obviously that's where you want to spend the time with the buyer, or pause for a moment to find out what their goals and priorities are, what they're looking for. But this is also, I mean, the interview kind of goes both ways, because this is in preparation for the actual buyer consultation. You might see red flags where you're like, I might not want to work with, you don't have to work with everybody, especially if this person seems like they're going to be a nightmare to deal with later. You'd rather not want to do that now versus show them 117 properties and not have them not want to move forward. Yeah. So this is also when you kind of want to have your radar up too, to see, is this somebody that I want to represent? Yeah. And one of the things I ask is that, you know, so here's one of the red flags. Oh yeah, oh, so how long have you been looking for a home? I've been looking for about 5 years now. Right there, just run. No, I'm just kidding. Don't run, but ask more questions. You've been looking for 5 years. Tell me more about that. Oh yeah, you know, I worked with 5 realtors. I killed 3 of them and buried the other 2. And I hope nobody discovers where their bodies are located. But you're next. When can we go take a look at homes? But anyway, find out what was going on with their past history, because there might be some red flags that you need to be getting a heads up on. I would call the last agent. If they give you a name, call them and say, hey, what am I missing here with this person? Yeah, you know, it was at the last walkthrough and he brought a bloody machete. It didn't go over too well with the home sellers. Anyway, the next step, anything else on your value proposition? Chad, Adrian, or Lisa? Anything else? Anybody? Keep sharing in your chat, value propositions. This is pretty complete, and you don't need to. Some people kind of go, where can I download one? Can I have your? It doesn't matter. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter. It's to put it together as best as you can, make it suit your needs. It can be in black and white without any photos for that matter. It doesn't make a difference. The most important thing to me in there is the needs analysis, because it's allowing them to shine. You're getting information from the buyer. Okay, so buyer guide is what we're transitioning into next. If you have the workbook, it's got suggested content for your buyer guide. And so first thing I would say is that it's about managing the evidence. In the beginning, you're not going to be buying 500 folders with your name on it. And then as soon as you order it, you didn't run it past Lisa, your coach, and it's going to be completely non-compliant with our marketing and market center policies. And then you're going to have to burn it all. So don't do that. Or
just put little stickers on the folder.
Or you're going to be sticker folder person.
We've done that. We've put little stickers on our folders.
Yeah. And so instead of throwing them away. But think of the first thing I would recommend is think of the presentation, because in real estate, can they come to your store and check out all your merchandise? No. Can they come to the factory and look at the production line and how you're making your, no. So your evidence, it's called managing the evidence, is your presentation folder. So think about the folder. Great ways is just getting the blank ones where you just customize it. You know what I would do? Customize it with information, you know, Joey Barafuco's buyer consultation, and customize it with his picture on it. Okay.
So there's the 22-page digital buyer guide. Yes.
And where is that? Where can we get that?
KW Connect, it says.
Yes. So there's your KW Technology Advantage. If you go to KW Connect, it's all in there. All you do is type in your own information, bada bada bing, print it out.
Yep. So it says it's easy to download and to customize. So there may be some things in there that don't apply to Hawaii, or maybe some extra things that you want to add in there because of our market.
It's a good starting point, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So a nice welcome letter. I'll just read through real quick. For those who don't have the instructor guide, a nice welcome letter. Lisa Crosby Torres. Well, any number one suggestion for a cover letter?
A cover letter to the offer?
To the buyer guide. You know, the thing you're going to drop off for them. Any suggestions on your welcome letter to the client?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you set expectations for what your commitment is to them.
Mm-hmm.
and the expectations for you're there to help them navigate this process as comfortably as possible, to be able to listen to them and give them an outcome better off by working with you than they'd have on their own or with somebody else.
Nice.
So it's
And
whatever
then-
your value proposition is should be in your letter.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
and your bio should be in there too. A little
Mhm.
a blurb about your bio, who you are, how long you've been in the industry, and so forth.
Okay. And then, they've got things in here, timeline for the buying process. Isn't it important to manage people's expectations? And then I always say that it's easier to cover something with them, good, the bad, the ugly, so that when it does happen, they're like, oh yeah, Chad told me this was going to happen. Oh yeah, Adrian said this was going to happen. Thank you for telling me. As opposed to, you never told me this was going to happen. And then they're getting all upset with you and calling you up. And because, isn't it true, Chad, Adrian, Lisa, that 1 minute we're like an angel and the next minute we're like Satan to them because things aren't going right. And it's just familiarity. We're just the closest target to them for that. So have a little thick skin, but manage the expectations to avoid the Wrath of Khan, that particular movie in the Star Trek Enterprise series. Okay, sample contract, what it means to be making an offer. They've got in here information on schools, but that's a negative on that one, right? We don't put information about schools. I think so. I think that's
No.
In
They
our
need
market,
to
we don't
Yeah.
we don't do that because that could be a
schools.
liability issue.
No. Okay, send up to the DOE site.
There's also, I would say that I think there's some flyers about the top myths that buyers have.
Yeah.
So like you can put that in there to make sure that you're going over these myth busters because you don't want them to be on the fence, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna make sure to go over anything that could cause them to retract
Yeah.
and go back to renting.
The other thing I'd recommend is have somebody proof this, have somebody go through it. Really pay attention to what's in the left pocket, what's in the right pocket. What else? Anything else on this buyer guide?
What I had in mind was a couple of articles because we're teaching people how to think, and so what we're really trying to do is kind of guide the client or the buyer to think how we want them to. So one of the things that I put in there in mine is I don't like Zillow. Zillow is kind of the bane of our existence. We go to them for leads in the past, right? But at the same time, they have a lot of misinformation and wrong information. So I had a 2-page article on why Zillow was completely inaccurate. And I would put it in there on purpose because the point of that would be my segue to say, I have set up an auto search for you, either using the consumer app that we have or through MLS. Please use that. Don't go to realtor.com or Zillow. You're going to have wrong information. I'd rather have you have the right information. So I would set things up like that in the mistakes to avoid section of that, the buyer pamphlet.
Get your KW app get your KW app to them and get them on it, okay? So I'll read this real quick. KW Technology and Marketing Resources offer you several customizable versions of a buyer guide. Don't reinvent, start with what's there, all branded KW already. Just insert your guys' customizable information. So think about it, and I'm like, putting together this buyer guide would be like my version of a Japanese tea ceremony. I'm real specific. I'm looking at the feel, the texture. Don't print it out on your printer when, like cyan is running low and then everything looks like a hue of pink. Make sure that the print quality is good, the paper that it's on. And the huge one, typos. Typos. What do typos tell people about you?
You're not thorough. You're not detailed.
And I don't want to work with you. And I should cue the sound effect from Homer Simpson. Oh. So, okay. Anything else on the buyer guide? Because we're going to wrap it up with the appointment management checklist. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Okay, so as you guys can see on the slide, we've got 6 things there. Confirm the appointment date and time. Okay, send them an email with a recap so it's in there. If you're so bold and they use Gmail calendars, send them a calendar invite so that the system and the software reminds them. Adrian?
And in the guide, there's even a script on page 65 on what you can do to confirm the appointment. You could even have, a virtual assistant or assistant help you to confirm it if you'd like.
And
Here's a tip though. One tip is like you said, Attilo, I did send them a calendar, a Google invite, because I use Google for everything. But I had
Yeah.
two. I had one internally and one externally, because what you don't want to do is include, buyer's a little difficult. His wife is not, you
Yes.
don't want all the details that you really do want, that you
Holy
want on your
cow.
calendar. You don't want to
Susie's a
share
piece
that
of
with
work.
Yeah.
You know,
Good tip, Chad.
Yeah, good tip there. And so if you can't afford an assistant, just call them up and do this. Hello? Yeah, this is the assistant for Attilio. I was just, no, don't do that. I'm just kidding with you. Or get somebody else to confirm the appointment for you,
Hey,
right?
you know what we have now? Speaking of assistants, we have a
Yeah.
Market Center VA.
There
So
you
if
go.
you guys need to do that, or you can just use our Market Center VA. It's very inexpensive, and they can confirm all your appointments for you. So something to think about.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice. Leverage.
Confirm the location of the appointment. Really, real quick in the chat, is everybody doing physical meetings or Zoom? Zoom or Office? What are you guys doing? Zoom or Office? So I'm curious. Put it in the chat. If we had a survey, I would put it up right now. Make sure you complete your buyer guide. Prepare the meeting space. So your meeting
Oh, you
space.
skipped one that was super
You
important.
missed an important
one?
one, Attilio.
Ensure all decision makers attend.
Oh yeah, thank you. Ensure all the decision makers are there. How many times have you going through the presentation and you're like, I got this, man, I nailed it. And then right at the end they go, oh, I gotta check with my wife. Oh, I gotta check with my husband. And you're like, what? Somebody married you? No, I'm just kidding. You don't say that. So make sure all the decision makers are there, because Chad, Adrian, Lisa, do you even meet with people where all the decision makers are not there?
No, I don't.
Us,
Never.
no.
Absolutely never.
Because I'm telling you, I've seen the significant others, every time they take the legs out, they start asking all the difficult questions, give them the third degree, and they're like, oh, my wife or my husband decided to go with somebody else. I've had that happen to me. Okay. Complete your buyer guide, prepare the meeting space, review the lead sheet. We got 9 more minutes. Anything else on that as far as build an appointment? Appointment management. Oh, the last one is preparation.
In the
Chad.
preparation process, in the workbook, since we have a couple more minutes too, I like this, which is understand the market. There's like a little worksheet on page 66 in the workbook that tells you specifically what metrics you should be have a complete understanding and master, which is exactly the things that I was telling you guys before too. Days on market, what the inventory looks like. I even go so far as to explain what the difference is between the actual calculation that determines a seller's market versus a buyer's market or a neutral market. Those are things that if you can explain that and understand what that means when you explain it to a buyer, you've almost won them over right then and there. Because a lot of agents just say things to them without educating them and coming from a consultative approach.
Yeah.
And Chad has those wonderful total market overviews that make it so easy.
TMO, bro. TMO.
Right.
You know what? Make sure you got the TMO so that you're not coming at them with TMI. Anyway, what is the TMO? What is TMO, Chad?
Total Market Overview is a report that's exclusive to KW Honolulu. Sorry, Maui. I know you guys can put it together. We can help you with that. But I don't want to give you FOMO or anything. FOMO on the TMO.
Yeah.
But
and then TMI.
So many acronyms.
Yeah, I know. But it's a really helpful report that it hyper focuses not only in the neighborhoods, but the specific price points of what's happening in terms of months of inventory and days on market and sales price to list price ratio, and used the right way can absolutely win buyers and sellers. So it's a really helpful report.
Yeah, so understand the market, folks. These people are paying you thousands of dollars to help them buy a home. Not them, but the seller, but you're making thousands of dollars to help them buy a home. So do your research, do your work. Make them feel that they have value with your representation. Know your scripts and materials. Here's a quote for you. If you practice scripts 3 to 4 hours each day, you'll become better than 90% of the agents in your area. And that's from Tony DeCello. And I will tell you this, just practicing at all every day will put you ahead of the game between majority of the agents out there, because I'll tell you, 98, all of you, you know where you're practicing? On the client, and they can tell, okay? Use communication. So Chad, what's a communication technique that builds rapport?
Asking questions.
Asking
coming from
questions.
contribution, showing you care,
Yeah.
not having commission breath, as people like to say.
Yeah, yeah. There's if you use the Crest whitening, it completely gets rid of commission breath. I've used that myself personally. You know, matching and mirroring, all the stuff that we've covered before. Be a consultant, not just an agent. Either consciously or subconsciously, clients can detect whether you're just there for the commissions. You know, they don't care what you know until you really demonstrate them to you, from you to them, that you care. Okay. Here's a big one, and this is a big one, and this is why everybody's like, buyers are liars. You know, when a seller's got to sell, they got to sell, right? They're relocating, whatever, they got to sell. But with buyers, you can kind of change your mind. You know, there are certain situations where they don't, but they could either rent, they could either buy. So they do have options. But what does it mean to be a decision facilitator? Adrian, Chad, Lisa, what does it mean to be a decision facilitator?
I would say that we advise and they decide.
Yeah.
Right. And you give them all of the information, and you know, ultimately it's their decision, and you're going to be supportive, you know, with the kind of information that you're providing. Make sure you're providing all sides. Don't just, you know, provide one side.
Yeah.
You want to provide the good, the bad, the ugly, and then let them make that decision.
Chad or Lisa, anything else on the big
I'll
one
say
is
this.
getting buyers off the fence. How do we
Yeah,
do
that's
that?
true.
Go ahead, Chad.
I would say this. I took a class with Diana Kokoska just recently. In fact, she had a small, more intimate webinar. One of the things she said, you know how we have industry sayings, things like you alluded to, Attilio, buyers are liars, sellers are storytellers. That's funny. We've all kind of been there before. But one of the things she said is, if you're truly trying to come from contribution, get rid of that language altogether, because that's you're coming with a bias. You're saying, I've been burnt by these buyers before. I've been burnt, and that's fine. Those are experiences that you have so that you can kind of retool yourself. But coming in with that bias, it actually shows up. It shows up in the consultation in a negative way. So eliminate that and really do come from contribution and be a consultant.
Start with the proper mindset is going to be Chad's tip for today. What about you, Lisa? How do we get
I love that, Chad, because I actually use that in my buyer consultations. I said, you know, if you hear a lot of agents talking, they'll say buyers are liars and sellers are storytellers. I said, you will never hear me say that, because if you show me an agent says that, I'll show you an agent that didn't ask the right questions.
Exactly.
So, you know, you absolutely have to be open and ask them the questions. And I'll tell a client, my job is to help you get all the right information for you to make the best decision.
Yeah. And then I'm going to add into that. I was talking with my buddy. He's a rapper. He lives in Austin. And I said, yo, GK, what kind of tip would you want to share with our class today? And this is what GK said. By the way, GK is Gary Keller. Your job is not only to help people make the best decision, it is also to help them get off the fence and make a decision in the first place. How do you accomplish that? By staying in curiosity and finding out everything you can about your buyer's needs, wants, and values, then ask them to buy. One of the things that I do when I coach and we teach our agents is, when you're done with the showing, don't ask them what they think of the home, okay? Because you're just gonna be spending time on a laundry list. Instead, my suggestion is, are you ready to write an offer on this home? Because that's gonna bring you up all the things that they like and don't like, but it's gonna at least speed up the process a little bit by saying, are you guys ready to write an offer on this home? And if you've done your homework, there's a high probability that they are ready to write an offer on that home, because you've done the work up front. Anything else?
It's prepared. Preparation is key.
Yeah. And
We've got 2 minutes, so I think it's time for some takeaways, and then we can let everybody head on their way.
While you guys are typing in your takeaways or questions too, be prepared. Don't go in there and try to wing it. You're preparing for your buyer consultation practice in the mirror practice with a friend. You just want to make sure that the information you're providing comes out smooth. It sounds like it's natural. You know, just like with anything, with a listing presentation, this is the same thing in reverse. So make sure that you prepare.
yeah, and I would record yourself. I mean, just get your kids to record you on your phone, or just set it up on the counter. Record
Do
yourself.
it on Zoom.
Yeah, do it on Zoom. Record yourself and then watch it. Look at your nonverbal cues. What's going on with your eyes? Like, one of the things I realize is that, you know, like sometimes I'm tired and I'm grumpy, and it's like, so I gotta, you know, I have a sticker at the bottom of my monitor. It says smile, it says smile, Attilio.
Hey, Chad's recording this to be used in the future. So
Yes, it says smile.
Keep it
like
clean.
Virgo. Yes, I did.
or
I
use
did.
an acronym
Yes,
like the
I
RBF face.
just beeped myself. Smile.
Okay.
So anyway, take a look at, I will tell you this. Enthusiasm attract, death repels. Enthusiasm attract, death repels. People like working with people that have an energy. They're excited about what we're doing. It's a home buying purchase. If you're Mr. or Mrs. Monotone, I don't care how good your data is or your information or how slick your buyer guide is. Who wants to work with that person? And I'm not saying being over the top comedian like me. I'm just saying, like, be enthusiastic and be excited about this new adventure that you're taking them on, which is the home buying process.
What does
Maybe
Mo
that's-
Anderson say about enthusiasm?
And she has the biggest mouth with the largest teeth I've ever seen on a woman. And she says this, she says, to be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. And when you act enthusiastic, you are enthusiastic. I said it exactly the way Mo Anderson said it.
But you said it in a pigeon accent instead of a
Yes.
twang.
Hey, to be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. And if you act enthusiastic, hey, brah, shoot, you're going to be enthusiastic. Anyway, that's how
That's how you prepare.
Kimo from Wine Eye Side would say about enthusiasm. Okay, well, that's it. Chad, any final words? Lisa?
No, fantastic. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Next week, join us for part 3. We really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, you're always welcome to email me, chadshima@kw.com. We are recording it, so we will send out the video link afterwards. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Aloha.
Thank you very
Aloha.
much.
Bye,
Aloha.
guys.
Aloha.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much, everybody. Thank you for the
It was great.
wonderful presentation. Thank you. Thank you.